measure ocean and atmosphere together, surface temperature of the ocean, air temperature, humidity, wind, air pressure.
La Nina could develop in the next few months. What that means for winter weather.
Now, La Nina conditions during the winter usually bring slightly warmer than average temperatures and less snowfall in the southern and central United States, but colder conditions and wetter conditions to the northern United States.
And autumn is just a few days away, but chrysanthemums are in full bloom.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. We are monitoring the tropics once again today. Tropical Depression 7 has formed in the Atlantic, and there is another system behind it that could develop into a named storm over the next week. This comes after an unusually quiet Atlantic hurricane season. Florida meteorologist Lauren Oleski is tracking the tropics for us this morning.
We will talk tropics now. Get a look across the Atlantic basin, and we've got Tropical Depression 7 that was numbered and named and developed, however you want to describe it, early this morning. Also, this other wave that's moving off the coast of Africa, low development chance. Of course, we'll watch it, but not concerned with this impacting Florida right now. I'm not concerned with Tropical Depression 7 impacting us either. Winds at 35 miles per hour. We'll see this moving off towards the northwest. Actually could become a tropical storm later today. Next name on our list is Gabrielle, and then maybe even a hurricane by late this weekend. This is again going to be curving north. It is not any threat to us in South Florida. Might rough up some of the surf maybe across portions of the eastern United States, but I do expect this to make its way off towards the north late this weekend and early next week.
Well, this hurricane season, NOAA is teaming up with Ocean, a robotics company, to launch several uncrewed surface vehicles into the Atlantic Ocean to take measurements inside tropical systems. Emily Gracie sat down with the NOAA oceanographer to learn how these USVs will fare in hurricane conditions and what their measurements could reveal.
I like to think of them kind of like a small sailboat that can be directed remotely. So they're about 4 feet long, and they have a sail that sticks up a couple of feet. So they're pretty small compared to some other surface drones that have been used. And that gives them some advantages. They can be deployed more easily. For example, they can be carried by 1 or 2 people, put in a small boat. So that's what they are. They measure ocean and atmosphere together, surface temperature of the ocean, air temperature, humidity, wind, air pressure, wave height and period, and they can take videos. So they can take pictures and videos, and they transmit most of that data back to us in real time. We make it available to the public and forecast centers.
Okay, so how does it work? You said you have some out there now. Are they just kind of sitting and waiting? Or if something develops in like the Gulf, can you send one out on demand? How fast can they like approach a system?
So we have an array of them. 5 of them are out in the open ocean, where historically there have been a lot of hurricanes passing through. They have a max speed of about 2.5 knots. So we do need lead time. And, in that part of the ocean, we often have a week in advance. We have a forecast that a hurricane will probably go through. And then the other option, we have 2 on the Gulf Coast in Mississippi ready to go. So if we see a hurricane forecasted to go into the Gulf or even close to the U.S. East Coast, we'll put these 2 in a pickup truck and we'll drive them wherever we think we need to take them to deploy them to get best chances to get into the hurricane.
Okay, so tell me about the importance of getting this data at this kind of crucial point here at the ocean surface. Like, what's going on there that it's so important to get that information when it comes to making better hurricane predictions?
The warm ocean is what supplies the energy for hurricanes. So we really need to understand how that exchange of heat happens, and it depends on the state of the ocean surface. So, and that's what these observations can help us understand.
Well, there's a high chance La Nina will develop as we head into the winter season. Meteorologist Kit Alexander tells us what it means for parts of the U.S. over the next few months.
The weather that we see locally is largely governed by big upper-level wind patterns or big bubbles of air, wind, and pressure that we refer to as teleconnections. And there's a few different ones that play a significant role and affect what we're actually seeing out the door. One of those patterns is located in the equatorial Pacific, and this is known as El Nino Southern Oscillation. The National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration has highlighted the equatorial Pacific this year is going to feature a 71% chance of La Nina conditions, and what this means is cooler than average water temperatures over the equatorial Pacific, driven strongly by trade winds, which help to upwell that cooler water from deep in the ocean. And believe it or not, this plays a factor in the winter weather that we're going to see. Now, La Nina conditions during the winter usually bring slightly warmer than average temperatures and less snowfall in the southern and central United States, but colder conditions and wetter conditions to the northern United States. There's a couple other bigger factors, obviously, that play a stronger role, and that's the Arctic and the North Atlantic oscillation. But ultimately, La Nina is something that we'll be monitoring as we eventually go into the winter season.
The U.S. state with the most islands in the country can now add one more to the list. Alaska's Prow Knob was originally connected to the mainland by a large glacier, and now the island sits on its own amid warming global temperatures. Meteorologist A.J. Mastrangelo has more.
This one a little bit of a different story. We're just talking about a glacier retreating along the coast of Alaska. And this is from NOAA. As you can see, back in 1984, we're looking at Alsik Lake, the Prow Knob, which is the island we're talking about, and Alsik Glacier. You can see the glacier itself is actually right to the island. The Grand Plateau Glacier, quite impressive as well. Fast forward to 2025, take a look what's happened here. Not only are we seeing this glacier retreating, also some different coloration in the water because more of that sediment getting into it. The Grand Plateau Glacier also going on down, and right here you can see that landmass alongside the glacier no longer connected. So Alsik Glacier, it originally reached about 3 miles west of Prow Knob. That was in the early 1900s. Since 84, though, the glacier has disconnected from Grand Plateau and now Prow Knob, so that does mean that the 2-mile square island is now isolated itself, and that glacier not supported by the island is also more prone to calving.
Well, it's bird migration season, but some communities, especially in the Midwest, are trying to find ways to control the geese populations in public places. After all, the geese can leave their droppings in areas that people want to stroll. Well, one city in Illinois is using a new tool to help out. Aaron Thompson has more.
For anyone who's walked along Ben Butterworth Parkway, you've likely had to dodge both geese and what they leave behind. Moline Parks and Recreation says it's time for a cleaner solution. Enter the Goosenator, a remote-controlled, brightly painted device created with Cornell University research.
You know, every 7 years, geese double their herd. After having conversations, we thought that this was the best method to help control the geese population.
The department says it's not about harming the birds, but about keeping public spaces safe and enjoyable for families. But some people don't mind the company of our feathered friends.
But it's just fun to see them and to see that they're not afraid of me when I walk by.
It's part of the Mississippi. They've been here for hundreds of years. So why are you disturbing their habitat? They live here. They're a part of the Quad Cities. Leave it be and enjoy.
Well, geese are not the only pests causing issues. We have a new invasive insect to look out for. The box tree moth caterpillar is spreading in the U.S. It was recently found in Virginia. It's harmless to humans, but is a major threat to plants, apparently. The boxwood tree is one of the most popular and resilient ornamental plants across the country. It's also a favorite food source for the moth. They will often feed until they totally destroy the tree.
We love our boxwoods, and it takes so much time to grow them. The caterpillars, the true berry hunter caterpillar comes and then just take it all out.
Well, if you see any of these boxwood moth caterpillars, be sure to report it to the Department of Agriculture. Early identification can prevent them from doing too much damage and help officials as they try and stop that spread. Well, if it's not the bugs, it's the heat. A new study has found heat fueled by climate change led to an additional 16,500 deaths in Europe this summer. Researchers used weather data and peer-reviewed research methods to calculate how climate change influenced temperatures and deaths across 854 cities. Now, researchers noted these figures are now likely on the low end, since the cities only make up about 30% of Europe's total population. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how drought in Ohio is impacting fall foliage in that state.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We're tracking a storm system off to our south in the coming days, and some of this wet weather is trying to get into New Jersey, New York, and perhaps southern New England. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The overall trend will be for thickening clouds in the Northeast. Skies will be brightest in northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and the state of Maine. 7 a.m. on Thursday, there may be some showers, especially in southern New England. The trend will be for improvement Thursday afternoon through Friday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. High pressure will eventually return, but not until this area of low pressure exits. We'll continue to see showers likely throughout the day until we get to Thursday, when that area of low pressure finally moves out and will start to dry out. Temperatures will warm up as we move into the next few days before a front arrives to cool things down. So we're talking about still cooler for your Wednesday afternoon. Highs will only be in the upper 60s, low 70s, but much warmer for your Thursday.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with your Southeast forecast. More scattered showers and thunderstorms are in play heading through Wednesday across most of Central and South Florida. Drier conditions for the bulk of the Southeast, including the Gulf Coast and parts of the Carolinas, with more sun in store heading into both Wednesday and Thursday for the Carolina coastline. As we head over the next couple of days, expect hot and humid conditions for most of the Southeast. Temperatures running in the low 90s for the northern Gulf Coast and across the Mississippi River Valley, with the upper 80s in South Florida.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Portions of Ohio are in the middle of a dry stretch lasting since August. These conditions might put a damper on fall colors. Meteorologist Sarah Converse has more.
While it may not feel like fall, it is starting to look like it, as some trees are showing early signs of color or shedding their leaves. Between August and September 15th, Columbus has seen less than an inch of rain, which is the driest period on record. Local arborist Michael Cassidy with Davey Tree says certain trees are at risk.
We're getting some early fall color. This is usually an indicator that the trees are stressed out. It can be from deficiencies, micronutrient deficiencies, iron or magnesium deficiencies in the trees.
The stressed trees are shutting down early to preserve water and nutrients. Michael explains this will impact the time and vibrancy of the fall foliage.
You're going to have less time in fall coloration in your reds and yellows. It's usually less vibrant because it's from stress and they're kind of trying to quickly react to what's happening. Also, it's less noticeable because not the entire canopy cover is changing.
To protect your trees from the drought, Michael recommends deep root watering.
With a hose, they can go out and, if you got the trunk of the tree, stick that hose out a couple feet from the center of the trunk so you're on the outside of the root ball. And then you're gonna want not a trickle, but no drip, steady stream, but not that much water coming out. You leave that thing on for like 30 minutes.
And did you know, when it comes to drought conditions, if your grass gets too dry, it can cause major temperature swings. Meteorologist Evan Jagfera explains.
Well, the last several nights here in central Alabama have had a very wide temperature range. It's been nice and cool in the morning, but 90s in the afternoon. And the moisture or lack of it in your grass has a lot to do with it. So a lot of lawns or grassy areas, mine included, look a lot like this, feel a lot like this. It's crunchy. There has not been a lot of rain recently, and while we're not in a significant drought, the water at the surface, it's not really present. So when there's no water at the surface, we tend to see bigger temperature swings. Water holds heat very well. So when our moisture levels are higher, when there's water in the ground, the heat from the daytime doesn't escape as readily. We also don't warm as efficiently in the afternoon. Temperatures are normally stunted. Look at June and July, our longest daylight hours, right? We will go from 72 to 92 on a daily basis, a 20-degree jump, and that's with a lot of sunlight. We have a lot less daylight right now than we did back in June and July, but our temperatures are swinging from 62 to 92 throughout the course of the day, and that is a product of a very dry surface. So until we get some rain, expect cool, pleasant nights and hot afternoons for the next several days.
Well, not everyone is dealing with dry conditions. Portions of Missouri have seen rain recently. Many people say they can smell rain, but is that actually true? Turns out it is. Meteorologist Sharon Ray explains.
Did you know that the smell of rain, did you notice that yesterday? I know I did, and some others mentioned it, that there was that certain earthly smell just before the rain started or when it did start. Well, that actually has a name, and the name is petrichor. That's the smell of rain. But what causes it? Well, the raindrops, as they are hitting the earth, and they're stirring up a compound, which is geosmin. It's a compound produced by bacteria in the soil. When the raindrops hit that bacteria in the soil, it releases it into the air, causing a certain scent. We also have plant oils that are produced in drier weather that do get into the soil and on rocky rocks and things. Those plant oils are also sent into the air when those raindrops hit them. And then one other thing, lightning. As lightning goes through the atmosphere, it's breaking up the air molecules and causing ozone to develop. And that ozone also gives us that scent that we call petrichor, the smell of rain.
Well, when it comes to rain, sometimes there can be too much of a good thing. There are efforts in Mobile, Alabama to educate home and business owners about green infrastructure that can help keep rain from overwhelming parking lots and streets. Andrea Ramey tells us more.
At the Midtown Publix off Old Shell Road, there's green infrastructure specifically designed to help absorb the rain and not run off the parking lot. These pavers allow water to seep back into the ground, so does this landscaping.
When we talk about green infrastructure, we're talking about everything from rain gardens, French drains, bioswales, native plantings. It's a large swath of different ideas of how to keep water on site instead of the old homage of pushing it away as quick as possible.
Resilience and Sustainability Director Lance Slater says the city's in the process now of hiring a company that will help educate home and business owners on how to implement green infrastructure on their properties and the costs associated with it. Slater says this initiative is made possible with a $140,000 grant awarded through the Gulf Coast Environmental Engagement Center.
Everything we can do to slow the water and let it seep into the system rather than rushing in all at once is going to prevent infrastructure failures and increase the passability of roads for citizens.
Naturally Mobile is just one new initiative and part of a much larger plan the city is executing to address stormwater runoff and reduce flooding. Public Services Director Matt Anderson says starting in the new budget year, October 1st, the city will have a stormwater maintenance division made up of 30 existing staff members who will be dedicated to this issue with plans to add additional staff.
What we're going to see in the future is all of these personnel are going to wake up every single day, and this is all they're going to focus on: improving our stormwater system, increasing its efficiency, and reducing the incidence of flooding across the city.
Well, signs of fall season are blooming literally. In addition to fall decorations, chrysanthemums or mums are making an appearance. Eric Peterson is outside Green Bay with a look at some of this year's blooms.
At Hillside Apples near Casco, Carmen Nell is on the hunt for what she calls the perfect chrysanthemum.
The strategy always is don't get them in full bloom, just get them just so you can tell what color they're going to be and what kind of decor do you got going on at home.
Each year we grow 8,500 so give or take mums for fall decorating.
Hillside Apples owner Bill Wraithley says mums went on sale here last month.
We have 50 different varieties. You got your pinks, whites, yellows, rust, and orange. And with the varieties, some of them show color a little earlier and some of them show later. So it's a nice progression as the season goes on.
Wraithley says he potted these chrysanthemums in the middle of June. He says warm weather conditions coupled with plenty of water helped.
This year's mum crop is probably exceptional. We changed soils this year, the potting soil that we use, and we were very pleased with it. This is a better draining soil and more consistent soil, so the mums did much better. they're much bigger than what we've had probably the last 2-3 years.
Meanwhile, Carmen Nill wrapped up her trip with 5 mums.
It just kind of brings in the different seasons that we have all, through Wisconsin, and fall mums kind of go together. All the colors, the burgundies and the oranges and the burnt oranges it's beautiful color and calming.
And time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over Lake Mishnock in Rhode Island.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sandra Buck-Michael. Some scattered rain out here across the plains today for the Midwest. That's going to slowly try to move its way to the east, and it's going to be cooler on the backside of things. Highs there in the 60s for the Dakotas today. Again, that rain just very slowly tries to move east as we head through the next several days. Hot across the Ohio Valley with a lot of 90s and 80s there as we continue on into your Friday. Again, nudging just a little farther east.
Well, a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and we'll see mostly to partly sunny skies. Could get a hit or miss shower or thunderstorm with heating of the day. Notice it's in the 80s and 90s. A little cooler up in Amarillo, around 81. We step into that Thursday forecast. Could get a little rain up in Oklahoma to start the day. The afternoon, a scattering of showers and storms pushes East Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Those highs in the 80s and 90s.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Stella Sun. Showers and thunderstorms will start to erupt towards portions of the Rocky Mountain West as well as the Dakotas. I am also tracking some cloud cover that's going to continue to push its way in through parts of Los Angeles and in San Diego. Triple-digit heat expected in Viva Las Vegas, in Phoenix, with the 80s expected through Albuquerque and in Boise. Parts of Spokane will be warming up to 88 degrees, with wall-to-wall sunshine expected through Portland and Seattle later this afternoon.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
A unique program is all the buzz at one Massachusetts state prison. Inmates will be working as beekeepers. Mike Cerullo has more.
Beyond the entrance to Norfolk's Pondville Correctional Center, there's a new buzz of activity. Susan Goldwitz is a volunteer at Pondville with a passion for beekeeping.
Bees have been a symbol, a catalyst, and a metaphor in poetry since time began.
She picked it up as a hobby more than a decade ago, quickly learning what it takes to become a good beekeeper.
Patience, planning, impulse control, focus, mindfulness, all the things that I thought my students at the various facilities would benefit from.
And after years of work, her vision is becoming a reality.
It feels like more than a dream come true.
Last spring, the company Best Bees delivered these 2 hives to the prison. Along with them, 40,000 bees. Eventually, about a dozen men at Pondville will learn what it takes to care for them. The pilot program is one of the first of its kind in Massachusetts. They'll start out with about a dozen inmates, but the hope is to grow from there, possibly even expanding to other facilities in the future.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.